This is the Dollemore Daily, and I'm Jesse Dollemore.
Republican George Santos is an attention seeker. And this is what took place last night during or just before the State of the Union and then what followed. And a lot of people would say, well, if he's an attention seeker, why do you give him that which he craves? And I think it's a fair point that maybe if we ignored him, he would just go away. But in this case, I think the benefits outweigh the deterrents. That by pointing out George Santos and him still being there, him still being rewarded with power, we shine a light, a needed light on the hypocrisy of the Republican Party, of the intent of the Republican Party. Because if they wanted to govern responsibly, and if they wanted to have within their membership and their caucus decent people who want to do the job and aren't just liars, they would expel him from the body. They have not done so. They are defending him. They are palling around with him on the House floor before the State of the Union. And further, before I get to the tape here of Mitt Romney having words with George Santos, telling him you should be embarrassed. You ought to be embarrassed, he said. Before I get to that, it's how it works. Listen, when I worked for the United States Senate, I worked in a capacity where there was one State of the Union address where I was right there on the floor. And for Capitol Hill, for the Congress, the State of the Union, maybe short of the inauguration, is kind of the star-studded Met Gala of political events. And if you want to meet the president, if you want to get on TV even, be next to the president, that center of the aisle right there along the path leading to the lectern is where you want to be. And that seems what George Santos' intent was. Palling around with dipshits like Thomas Massey, the goon with taking photos with his family, all armed, his little kids holding weapons, with Chip Roy, the former chief of staff of Ted Cruz and now rabble-rouser in the House. He's hanging around with these ne'er-do-wells, these agents of chaos, trying to get attention. And in doing so, he shines a bright light on the hypocrisy and lies and lack of concern for any integrity whatsoever that is inside the Republican Party. And listen, Mitt Romney is no ally. Mitt Romney is no friend. There are flashes of decency that shine through with Mitt Romney, and this is one of those moments. He harkens back to a time where there was congeniality between the parties and we could get things done while disagreeing. And lucky for us, there is a couple of Republicans who are like, what? This is nonsense. Here's that moment of him addressing George Santos on the floor with George Santos chirping something back at him. You ought to be embarrassed, he said. He was mouthing there. You ought to be embarrassed. And George Santos is maybe unable to feel embarrassed. I don't know if he's a sociopath or what's wrong with him, but he is dignity-free. Shamelessness abounds, not only in the Republican Party, but especially with George Santos. And I'm going to read a tweet a little in a minute here, but I want to, on the way back to the Senate chamber for Mitt Romney, reporters kind of surrounded him and were asking him questions about what was said. Did he hear what George Santos said in response? What was his intent there? What was he thinking? And this is how that went down.
He shouldn't be there.
So can you repeat that? Why don't you think he belongs there, sir? You said he's a sick puppy? What do you mean?
No, I didn't say that to him then.
That's what you say now.
You just said you don't belong here.
Yeah.
Why did you want to say that to him?
I didn't expect that he'd be standing there trying to shake hands with every senator and the President of the United States. Given the fact that he's under ethics investigation, he should be sitting in the back row and staying quiet instead of parading in front of the president and people coming into the room.
Did he ever respond to you? Did he respond?
He says that he embellished his record. Look, embellishing is saying you got an A when you get an A-. Lying is saying you graduated from a college you didn't even attend. And he shouldn't be in Congress, and they're going to go through the process and hopefully get him out. But he shouldn't be there, and if he had any shame at all, he wouldn't be there.
And why did you make a point to say that, though? I mean, it was kind of out of your way to.
Well, he was standing right there in the aisle, shaking hands with everybody.
Did he respond to you?
He may have. I didn't hear.
Are you disappointed that Kevin McCarthy has now called him to resign?
Yes.
Good for Mitt Romney. Finally, someone within the Republican Party is calling this as it is, which is embarrassing for them. And look, I will luxuriate in their chaos all day long, because the more chaos they create amongst themselves, chipping away at each other, chirping away at each other, taking shots at each other, the less damage they're going to do in your life and my life and the country's collectively. So good for them, good for them. But it does go to show the lack of integrity of the Republican Party, the lack of accountability within the Republican Party. Because just a minute or two after that video was posted to Twitter that I just showed you, that was actually a mashup of two videos to give you the fuller context. But just a minute later or so, George Santos tweeted this to Mitt Romney. He said, "Hey, Mitt Romney, just a reminder that you will never be president." This coming from George Santos, who will never see a second term and likely won't see the end of his first term because of the scrutiny and investigations, some becoming criminal, into campaign finance improprieties, illegal activity, money laundering. But enjoy it while it lasts, fatty. Enjoy it while it lasts, you goober, you clueless idiot, you attention-seeking clod. Your time is coming. The law will slowly, but eventually catch up to you. And not about I was a star volleyball player in college at a college you didn't go to. You never played volleyball in your life. 2 knee replacements. Yeah, stellar athlete, George Santos. Look, I'd love to know what you think. It's a low point. It's a low point for the country that they're dragging us down this path while destroying one another. We all have to bear witness and be brought into it. It's not great. I'd love to hear from you. You can call, leave me a brief voicemail, 714-576-4054. Of course, you can email me, daily@dollemore.com. Follow me on social media. I am on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok @Dollemore. I'd love to see you there. And if you appreciate what I do, if I bring value to you, if I give you information that you may not otherwise get, please consider supporting my work right here on the platform. You can click the join button below the video here, wherever it is, on whichever device you're using, and click the join button. Become a channel member for $2 a month, or you can go over to patreon.com/IDoubtIt podcast. I appreciate you guys so much. Thanks for your spending some time with me, engaged with my content, liking, subscribing, doing all the things that YouTubers constantly yammer on about. It is actually important, and that's why it gets yammered about. I'll see you next time. Until I do, be genuine. Take care of one another.